Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we are back for another in our installment of the Inspiration Card series. And today's inspiration comes from this purse that I'm putting in the screen right now. I love this purse. It has been in my Instagram feed like crazy, and I cannot afford it. So I thought, you know what? I can be inspired by it since I can't afford it. So we're going to make a purse inspired. I'm not a purse. We're going to make a card inspired by this purse. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I pulled out all these supplies, and these are the ones I'm going to be using. So let's get started. So the first thing I did in my inspiration was I picked my inks and I picked my papers. So I just looked at the picture and took inspiration from the colors that they had used in the purse. And so I'm going to use Paradise and Nocturne from Versaclair. And I chose my Versaclairs because I'm going to be embossing, and those stay wet long enough for me to emboss for a really long time. Then I have this piece that's going to be my cheetah print, and this piece that's going to be my quilted fabric. And these are all going to be flowers and leaves, etc. Okay, so we'll get to those in a few minutes. Why don't we do the embossing first? I feel like that's going to be the thing that takes us the longest. So we're going to emboss this piece. Okay, so to get started, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and use my anti-static powder tool on my piece. I'm going to be embossing the whole thing with clear, and I really don't mind if any of that sticks anywhere it shouldn't, but I thought we'd do that just to be safe. And I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair because Clair inks stay embossable for quite a while. We actually did a test live one time because people were telling me that they had heard that you could go 5 minutes without embossing it before it will dry, and we did the test and it worked. So that's the one I'm going to use today. Now I'm going to be using the layered leopard set, and here you can see the dots are solid on this side and they're looser on this side. This is the part I want to be the middle. So I'm going to lay that down onto my cardstock here, about into the middle. Then I'm going to press this down and let that ink transfer. So there's our first blue layer. Now this dot and this dot are your registration layers for the next spot we're going to stamp, okay? So that this can continue out, you just line up those two dots and stamp. I may have to come down here and do some fancy footwork because this piece is a little bit long, but we'll see. So I want to line up those little registration dots, which is hard for me to do with my head out of the camera. So I'm kind of looking to the side here. It's probably not going to be perfect, but I'm going to take it. So there's my next layer, and now it's time to do the black layer on top. And notice that I'm not worried about how long it's going to dry or how fast it's going to dry because I have plenty of time with these Clairs. Plenty of time. Even when they feel dry, they still will emboss. Okay, we have those same dots that we can line up. You just look for them here in your pattern and then stamp that down. There's one side, and now we'll do the other. Again, I'm going to use those little registration marks. Okay, so lining up my registration marks, I can see them. Let me sit this down and I'll show you here and here. And now I'm going to press that down. Good deal. So there is our little blue and black cheetah print paper. So now we just need to emboss it. Oh, I guess I should put the ink on it. I mean the powder on it. 1 second, let's do that before we lift it up. All right, so I'm going to use clear. The clear will make it all shiny. And if you remember in my inspiration picture, it was patent leather. So I thought doing the shiny on here would make it kind of have that patent leather feel. Okay, and let's turn this way so it'll get the end. Don't worry about what you're tumping back onto your surface because you can reuse that. We can put that back into the jar. Do you see how long this VersaFine Clair will let it stick? Look at that. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? All right, let's heat it. Now the trick for embossing this is let your heat tool heat up. So I'm going to give it about 30 seconds of heat time. And now you can see it's got that shininess that feels like that patent leather. So that'll give us the feel for that. Okay, now let's do the quilted piece, which I think I'm excited about most. So this piece, I should be telling you the dimensions of these, shouldn't I? I have forgotten. This is going to be the front of an A2 size card. It's going to be a lot like this. So this piece is 5 1/4 tall and it's 1 1/2 inches wide. Okay. And I'm making it 5 1/4 so I can also have a little card mat around it. So this guy is 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. I've got powder all over me. That's the one thing I don't like about heat embossing is powder goes everywhere. Okay. Here you're going to use your embossing tool and your piece of cardstock, and I'm going to lay it corner to corner on that line that I've drawn down my scoreboard. A lot of you guys ask me why I have this line, and this is why. So I can do this kind of stuff and make sure I'm on the same line top and bottom. So from there to there, I'm going to emboss. Now you're going to want to hold this very still, and I will tell you, if you have the envelope tool that goes into your board, you can also use it to help you do angled or diagonal scores. This is just easy for me here. All right, so I've done that one score from one side to the other. Now holding it, you see all the powder that's still on me. It's on my Band-Aid. So holding it very firmly on one side, I'm going to come over 3/4 of an inch. 1, 2, 3/4, and then I'm just going to bring my embossing tool down and do a line 3/4 of an inch away from my last one. Same thing here. So up here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3/4 of an inch, and then do a line here. And then move over again 3/4 of an inch. Now you do want, even though it's just this little bitty bit down here on the bottom, I still want to do it because I want that pattern to go all the way off the page. Okay, so there's that side. Now I need to do the other side. Now I can do something here to make this easy on me. I can turn this around and I can put this in here just like this. If you're right-handed or left-handed, make this work for yourself. As long as you're lining up your score mark there, then you do the same thing. Come over 3/4 of an inch and score. Then move out 3/4 of an inch and score. And then one more time. Oops, I lost it. So I'm going to go back to my line. And that's 1/4, 2/4, 3. And get that little tip there. Now, you guessed it, we're going to do the same thing, but this way. So where we did the lines this way, we're turning it. So we're going across those lines, doing exactly the same thing. So the middle line, and then out 3/4 of an inch. Now you can see this side, but this is the side I want to use where all the diagonals are facing up. And this just kind of mimics that quilted side of the purse. I thought that looked pretty cool. So now you can see how we're building it. We have our cheetah side and our quilted side here. Now what I want to do is work on the flowers to lay on top of here. So one thing I noticed is they have a leaf and a flower, both done in green, in 2 different shades. So what I did was kind of mimic that. I'm going to let this be my leaves. So I'm going to cut, I don't know, 3 or maybe 5 leaves just to be safe. Now, if you have this color in your scrap, you could go just pull these out of your scrap bin. I just didn't have them in my scrap, so I had to go pull some full sheets. But now this will go into my scrap pile, and I'll be able to use this whenever I need another green. I may want to make a bazillion of these cards because I think they're gorgeous. All right, so there's those leaves. Now I noticed that they had a bunch of green flowers, which I thought was kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my flower punch here, and just using this one on this side, I got a little bit of paper in there, just using that one flower right there, I'm going to punch several green ones. There's one. Try not to pinch my hand. Have y'all ever pinched your hand in your punch before? That is not fun. Just going to punch a couple. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but it can't hurt to have some punched out. Then they had a couple of small blue flowers. So I'm going to come over here to the small side and get some of these little blue ones. Then I noticed they had a couple of small blue ones. So I'm going to come right here and just punch some of these small blue flowers. And this is 2-sided paper, but I can choose which side I want. But I think I want to use the darker blue because it'll match the blue I used in the cheetah. So that's probably enough flowers right there for that. So we'll do those 3. And then I need a couple pink. They actually didn't do a specific pink flower, but I'm going to do one that's layered, that's pink, to give me kind of a focal point. They did use pink in the picture, but it wasn't necessarily a single flower. It was a very strange flower that I don't have anything to mimic. And again, we're just getting inspiration. So there's that. And then lastly, what I thought was really cool is they used some of the flowers that were this color. And I thought that was neat. So I'm going to punch some of these little ones in this color. Now that gets all my flowers, and it's probably way too many flowers, but something else they did was they used circles of color, of blue, and they put blue inside of these little guys. So I'm going to go back to that blue that I had, and I'm going to use this because it has all these different sizes, and I'm going to cut, I think, that 3/16 to go inside those little guys. So come over here where I've already been punching. We'll punch some of this size out. Now, when you punch these guys out, they kind of curve because of the way the little punch is made. But all you got to do is just do that to flatten them back out, and you can still use them. All right, so there's a bunch. Now I need, I think that's it. Maybe. Oh, I know what. I had one more piece I wanted to use. So this is my large branch punch, and I just cut a couple of those out in case I wanted to use them from that same craft colored paper. So now we're going to see how to lay this out. And I don't have any idea how this is going to work. We're going to do this all together. I do want to get my quick stick because I think I want it. I don't know if I want to use any foam. I might. Let's start laying it out and see. Just so I have something to look at, I'm going to lay these here beside each other. The flowers will go here. And I was kind of thinking I could lay these guys down first and build my flowers on them. Let's just see what that looks like. So if I have these branches, something like this, even if they go off the page. Now, one thing cool about my inspiration pieces, they don't go off the page at all. It actually is kind of encompassed in the area of the purse. So if I put this big pink flower there, and I did want to layer that flower, but I'm just going to kind of place things for a second. Then they took this color flower, let's use the smaller ones, and they did like 3 in a row, kind of running together. Actually, they did more than 3 in a row, but I'm going to do several like this. Just see how that looks. Something like that. And then let's put a leaf or 2 in. Could probably even put some on the branch. Let's put some blue flowers on the branch. I think you'll just play around until you get it like you like it, because honestly, it's just an inspiration photo. So really, you can do anything you want. So just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and stack whichever flowers I wanted to do a stacked version of. This is one I know I wanted to do a stacked version. So I'm just going to create the little hydrangea out of here, just stacking the big with the little. And it'll get me 3 layers just to make that flower seem a little fuller. There's that one. Let's see, let's maybe do it with one of these blues. So I decided I didn't like the large green, so I went back and cut myself some small greens. I still have some larger ones. I might can use them too. I'll lay them here. We'll see. Okay. I thought about using the branch. I think the branch may be a little too chunky. We're going to set it aside for now and see. I think we can do this with just the flower. So if I start here with this flower and maybe add a leaf or 2 coming out the side of this flower. Maybe one here and here. Remember, we're just being inspired. We're clearly not copying. We're just being inspired. And then maybe this layered blue flower, which I want to mess with the petals because I didn't lift them yet. This layered blue flower can maybe live over here. Push that down a little bit. Maybe something like that. And then one thing they do on the bag that I think is so pretty is they have these tan flowers, but they actually kind of go on top of each other like, let me show you. Let me get my quick stick. Let's make this easier than me trying to fidget. So here and then here. They kind of run like that with each other, which I thought was really kind of cool. Of course, it could actually even run, it could kind of run something like that. That's kind of cool. And then some more leaves. Let's turn this guy over. Maybe even let his petal go, his little piece go behind that one. And then something else they did was they used dots in different places. So like just some dots, but they used them in like 3s, 4s, 5s, just in rows. I actually think that could lay a different direction. Let's try that. This is the hardest part, laying it out. I think I'm going to lay it out something like this, and then I'll add more dots after I get this glued down. One other thing I need to do is I want to put glue dots inside of these little guys. So I'm going to pick this up, put a little glue in the middle, because there's glue dots embroidered on the bag in the center of these little tan flowers, and I think that's cute. So I'm going to start by gluing my leaves down where I want them. And hopefully I can remember where everything goes. If not, it's not the end of the world. It's floral. Floral, you can get away with a lot of different things. I'm going to come back and do some stitching on these guys, probably with my white pen. I think it's going to need some white to kind of brighten it up. But for now, we're just going to glue these guys in place. Something else I noticed that they did as I'm looking at the purse to fill in some space is they took some of their leaves were half leaves. So let me show what I mean. Where these are whole leaves, I'm going to kind of take this and cut it so that it kind of looks like a half, as if it were kind of on its side, and kind of use it like that. Isn't that kind of cool? I think that'll work. So let's do some more of that. Don't know that I'll need 3, but I tend to do 3 of things. So let's see how these look. I really like this first one. Let's see how it looks tucked kind of in here. I think they look good. I'm going to save them till after I do my stitch marks. All right, I need my white pen. Now I'm a little bit skittish here, so I'm going to use a pencil to help me, okay? I don't want to mess this card up. I've worked really hard on it, right? So I'm going to do this to kind of draw myself some little stems just to guide me where to put the stitch lines. Just little like half circles. And I know I'm going to do between here, and I'm going to do some on the pieces themselves, but I think I'm also going to do some that kind of twirl out to really kind of break up all of the squareness. So I'm just going to stitch line along those spots I gave myself. I'm coming in and I'm doing stitch lines in the petals. I just think that'll be pretty. By the way, I'm using the 0.05 nib of the Jelly Roll, and that's how I'm getting these little fine stitch lines instead of using the 10, because I normally use the 10 and I love it, but it's a little too big for this. Now to really dress this guy up, I'm going to put pearls in the middle of this one and this one. And I didn't use these half leaves. I don't think I need them now that I'm done. I think it may be too much, so I didn't end up using them anyway. I have lots of flowers I can make another one with and lots of leaves. So I have these little tiny pearls. I'm going to put a dot in here of glue and then attempt to pick one of those up. Let's get the quick stick out again. Let that sit for a second and dry. And then let's do one on the blue flower. Those are really pretty. I think I'm going to add pearls. Where I drew these little dots, I think I'm going to add pearls for those instead of those little dots. I personally think that those pearls really set it all off. I think it's beautiful. And I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to put it onto the card. So choosing the card base was a little difficult, actually, which is kind of funny because I thought that would be the easiest part. But in reality, I wasn't sure. I tried the green, I tried the blue, and the pink seems to be the prettiest for it. So we're going to use the pink. So I'm going to score my card base in half. It's just an A2 size card. Score that in half. I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to crease it down with my bone folder real quick. And then we can assemble the card. I don't know about a sentiment. I almost feel like this one's pretty just as a note card. I also think I'm going to add one more piece to it. We'll see. I want to look at it and see how it looks. Okay, so this guy gets mounted here. And this guy goes beside it here. So I had my measurements wrong, so I'll tell you here, and we'll make a note in the video to let you know that too. This piece should be 1.25 inches, not 1.5 inches. And honestly, it looks better as 1.25 inches. Now I can get my pink border around the edge. I was like, what am I doing wrong? That's what it was. Okay, so I want to put this one down. I'm going to use foam tape because I want to pop it up. So flip this guy over and put some Scotty down. Probably need to use a good bit. I don't want it to fall off, so let me put a little more at the top here where I didn't quite have enough. There you go. Let's pop this up as well. Put that in the middle. Okay, so let's place one piece first. Try to get my edges just right. Try to do that Band-Aid. Everything wants to stick to my Band-Aid. That's beautiful just like that, isn't it? Such a pretty card. I love being inspired by things that are not necessarily card related, right? And this guy goes right beside the other. I don't want any of that pink showing. Goes right up to it. Like so. And the part I told you I thought about adding was this little strip here, because on the purse, they have a piece of trim. And it needs that. Looking at it, it's real pretty. It kind of hides any mistakes we have right there in the middle. So I'm going to add that piece. And it's just the same color cardstock, just cut to a scant 1/4 inch. And I think that will really clean any mistakes up that I have. That is my card. Now, I haven't done the inside. I don't know who this card is going to. I have a feeling I know, but I'm not sure. But when I do know for sure who it's going to and what for, then I will put a piece of white cardstock in here and maybe stamp a sentiment. I don't really want to add a sentiment to the outside. I think it's pretty without a sentiment, although you could. But there it is. This is my card with that inspiration photo, which I probably left in the screen the most of the time for you guys to see. But I think that is really cool. I love how it turned out. I got a little something up there. A lot of work on this card, but I love how it was inspired by that purse. And maybe one day I can afford that purse, but for now I cannot. Instead, I can just be inspired by it. I hope you're enjoying this inspiration series. It's been pretty fun for me to look for things that can inspire me. So I'm on the look for my third piece. When I find it, I'll bring you another video. Hey, show me in our customer gallery what you're making. Give us some inspiration there. And if you need inspiration, there's more than 2,000 inspiration photos for you guys over there. It's at maymaymadeit.com in our customer gallery. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be sure to click that bell notification so you'll know when I put a video up. And until next time, guys, bye-bye.